Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. And right now, it's America against everybody. America against the world, literally. Well, from Trump at least, it feels like it, right? Because right now, Trump is putting tariffs on every single country imaginable. No one is left out. And you're kind of wondering, what's the point? Like, what are you trying to gain here? This doesn't benefit anyone in the long run. Or does it? What actually are these effects that these tariffs are actually going to have on other countries? We're about to find out right now. But if you like the video, you can drop a like. And if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe. Let's get right into it.
Let me just give you a sense of what we know so far about this. There's still a few unanswered questions, but finally we got the detail on what Donald Trump meant by this Liberation Day. And let me just kind of start by showing you these bars are how high those tariffs, the US tariffs, are on various different countries around the world at the moment, or rather before Donald Trump came into office.
Wow, Vietnam. Wait, what's Vietnam doing there? Oh my God.
And a quick kind of bit of revision on where we've come from so far. So threatened tariffs on Mexico and Canada. They were repeatedly threatened, repeatedly rescinded or lifted.
Oh yeah,
but
that's true.
They might well be back again, who knows. But for the time being, they're gone. We know we got an extra 10% tariffs on China, China 1.0, then another extra 10% tariffs on China 2.0, you might call them.
Oh my God.
We're now kind of waiting to find out what will happen next, and we finally did find it out. Let's just start. There are two parts to this, okay? So first of all...
Wow. Wow. On everyone. And this is the first one. I think there's another one coming. Jesus.
There is going to be a 10% baseline tariff. So you see all of these bars go up by 10%, including, of course, the UK. But that, as far as the White House is concerned, is just a baseline. And then on top of that, there are different tariffs for different nations, what they call reciprocal tariffs. And they say they've gone through the numbers. They've looked at not just the tariffs that other countries are...
What's the point? You actually kind of think, what actually is the point? Every economist literally came out saying, this doesn't benefit anyone. At the end of the day, you create these jobs back for the people in your country. That's fine. You can move all the production back to America. That's fine. But then it's going to be really expensive to hire American workers, which means the prices of the cars are going to explode. That's literally like the formal way of looking at this. There is no other way. The prices have to go up. And if the prices go up, then what kind of is the point? Now you're just charging your consumers. You're just charging the Americans more. You're supposed to bring the price down. Who the hell wants a more expensive product? Like, why? Why would anyone want that?
Around the world are charging the US, but also what they call non-tariff barriers, so other things. And they've worked out, by the way, Canada, those Mexico-Canada tariffs might well come back, so we might well start from that position.
Jesus
but
Christ.
Reciprocal tariffs might push all of these bars, or will push all of these bars up considerably higher.
Oh my God.
So just look at how the picture of trade and tariff...
Wow. Wow. I don't know what the deal is with Vietnam, right? What's the deal? I don't get it. What's the beef there? Like, what's the problem? Why is that so high?
The US has changed dramatically as a result of these measures which are coming in the next few days. And just to give you a few highlights of what we're talking about, so you could look, for instance, over there at China. So China, that's a 34% reciprocal tariff, but it takes the total amount, provided that goes on top of the existing tariff, it takes the total amount up above 50%. And you're talking, you know, when tariffs are going above 50%, that makes any trade very, very difficult.
That's it. 50% is just a hard line. They have to look for other options. That's crazy. 34% is scary.
And far less likely to happen. So that's China, but you can probably see here, Vietnam as well. And the point here from the White House has been to say, listen, lots of Chinese goods going into the US, but also going through, being Vietnam and Cambodia as well, being conduits for goods to go.
Okay, now it makes sense, because I've been wondering, what's the deal with Vietnam? I understand China, right? Because China and the United States, right? Two largest economies in the world. United States, they don't want China to take over them. That's fine. I understand why you put tariffs on them. But what's the deal with Vietnam? Because obviously they use them as a third party to be able to transfer their product to Vietnam and then to America. So obviously it makes sense. Now I actually understand them more.
Go to America. And the point here for Donald Trump the US wants to reindustrialize. And so it's all about trying to make things domestically. But finally, look at the UK, 10%.
Thank God, it's just 10% over here, right? Like, geez, thank God for that.
On the UK, and for many people here, obviously it is a big increase on where things were before, only a few percent, the average rate for the UK, but that goes up to 10%. It is the best rate that anyone has amongst any nations. In fact, the best rate that any G7, any leading economy in the world has, and certainly better than the EU, all of whom are having to pay an extra 20% in total, so 10% and another 10% on top. But even so, all of this will potentially diminish the amount of trade going on around the world and diminish the amount of stuff going into the US. And finally, it's worth just saying, what was the stock market reaction? Well, this decision was made after markets had closed, but we can look at the futures market. This is the NASDAQ futures market, and look at what happened. It went up a little bit after the announcement.
Oof, crash.
And then it's come down quite considerably.
Big
So
crash.
a market reaction there, which implies that when markets open in Asia, and indeed when they were open across the US and Europe, we're going to see some falls to come as people respond to this.
Ed, take a seat. I've got another question for you. There is more coming out of the White House right now, senior White House officials, etc. Trump is to sign an order that closes the de minimis loophole. This is according to an aide. Tell us why that is significant and how it might affect a nation like China, for example.
So this is on top of all of those things we were showing you. De minimis basically means that for really small, kind of low-value items that are going in and out of countries, a lot of that stuff just isn't charged a tariff. So what is the tariff ultimately? It is just, we're going to charge you 20% on everything that comes into the country, although it's the recipient that actually pays it. But for fast fashion, for items that are going in that are relatively cheap, and this is a big thing for China, you've got companies like Shein who are sending stuff relatively cheaply from Guangdong and different parts of China. Right now, that's not subject to any tariffs. Donald Trump said earlier on, so when...
That one, right, putting tariffs on like the cheap things that China can make, that will be the one that actually really hurts China. That will be the one that actually really starts this global trade wars. That one will really be the big one. Really, really big. Because that's what China really relies on a lot. Those cheap products that they can easily make and send out to other countries. So if he really wants to like step on the toes of China, that's really what he's going to like really target.
When he had one of his early kind of, we're going to impose tariffs on China, he said, we're getting rid of de minimis. But then what happened was that suddenly in airports around the US, you were seeing massive big piles of goods that no one was quite sure what to do with, because it's an enormous administrative challenge. And I think that, Anna, is the bigger issue here. Raising all of these tariffs, different tariffs on different countries, and a kind of extraordinary smorgasbord of different numbers we've just seen, and Donald Trump held up this chart of all the different numbers. It is likely to just increase the amount of work that it takes for America to collect these tariffs. But the point that Donald Trump wants to make, can I show one more chart, like as a bonus thing? But the point that Donald Trump wants to make is that...
I mean, that chart I showed earlier with the markets crashing down, right? There is no other way it was ever going to work that it wouldn't like fall down. That's always like any tariffs, any level of like volatility, like any level of like unpredictability of, oh, what's going to happen? What's not going to happen? How much tariffs is there? Is there going to be any tariffs? What's the percentage? Of course, the market is going to react negatively. That's always what's going to happen. So you have to think, is it really the plan? Is it really like, has it really got a plan? Like short-term pain for long-term gain? Or is it just like an idiot is just doing whatever he wants? I think he's just like an idiot is just doing whatever he wants. Like, come on, like, there's no way anyone that's got any sense of how trade works or any level of like basic econ, you can never, ever, ever actually think this is actually a good thing. This is crazy.
Back in a long time ago, the majority of federal revenues came from tariffs, raising money from tariffs, and right now that line is basically down, close to zero, kind of only a few percent. And his point is always, rather than raising money through income tax, couldn't we raise it again through tariffs? And I'll spare you the next charts, but point out that ultimately, that is...
Ultimately, tariffs money comes from consumers. You can get rid of income tax, but inevitably, that tariff money that you're getting, it still comes from consumers. Because at the end of the day, when it becomes more expensive to produce something, guess what happens? Business will just pass on that cost to the consumers. So whatever it is that you're starting the goal, whatever your starting goal is with the tariff, at the end of the day, you're still taking money from the people that you're trying to protect in the first place. You're right back where you started from.
It's really, really tough to do. It's really tough in the modern world of 2025 when you have, welfare states, when you have Medicare, when you have, standing armies that are quite expensive. You can't just raise all of your money through tariffs.
Can't.
No one has been able to do
No
that.
one can do that.
And so that is the challenge that he's faced with right now. But what he wants to do is to be able to say we're going to try and reindustrialize, hence all of those tariffs on China, on Vietnam, on Cambodia, and we're going to try and raise a bit of money from it in the process. And I think that's the selling point. But what comes next is the retaliation.
If you want to reindustrialize, it's not through tariffs. You just have other policies. You just focus on industrializing, not putting tariffs, and then all of a sudden that's going to make that. No, that's just stupid.
Not to hear from Europe, and we know they're going to retaliate. What comes next is more market reaction, and this is going to roll and roll. Even though we've got detail tonight, we're going to be talking about this for.
Like, at the end of the day, right? There's some people in this country, in the UK, that actually follow Trump. Actually, like, they believe we should align ourselves with America. That's kind of odd because it's like, okay, they just put a tariff on us now. Like, do you really believe we should be on their side? We should actually follow suit. We should, like, follow America's policies. Do you really see them as an ally right now with Trump being in charge? No, you can't. But there will be people that will actually support this, that America deserves this. America has been ripped off. But it's just kind of weird. It's like, okay, you're supporting America, but they're putting tariffs on your economy, making it harder for you to be able to, like, get some level of growth or, like, a good, stable economy. It's kind of weird. Like, people who actually in this country still support this. But anyways, that's just my opinion. If you like the video, you can drop a like. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe and put on the notifications. And if you have any disagreement, put it down in the comments.